friends, it's the Stitches. It is officially Halloween season and spooky season, and I have been waiting all year to be able to talk about some horror content with you guys because I really love scary stuff. So I've gathered up a bunch of free content for you guys to watch yourselves this spooky season. So I have about 10 YouTube channels to share with you guys. They're not in any particular order. I love all of these equally pretty much. Because this isn't necessarily an on-brand video, for those of you who are my subscribers, my regular viewers, I'm going to rate all of these a 1 out of 10 in level of how scary they are, how scary I consider them to be. The scale 1 to 10, 10 will be the scariest movie you've ever seen in your life, and 1 is like Courage the Cowardly Dog. Like, it's spooky, but you're probably not gonna get nightmares from it. Because I know a lot of you guys don't actually like scary content, and a lot of you guys do, so I want you guys to know what you're getting into. Let's get into the content. So the first channel that I want to share is Local 58. So the channel is a collection of what appears to be recordings from public TV broadcasts, obviously from Local 58. The recordings are strange shows played at odd hours, like 3 or 4 in the morning, but it's a show for children, as well as a collection of public service announcements and alerts that are a little bit odd. Many of these videos appear to be the result of hackers, people that have hacked into the broadcast system of Local 58 and put in messages that weren't intended to be there originally. The messages seem to be given from a perhaps extraterrestrial source. There's also maybe a hint of government cover-up. Now, Local 58 is really great, and it is a very visually interesting series. I think it is very aesthetic personally, but before there was Local 58, there was actually another channel called Channel 7. And Channel 7 is basically the same thing as Local 58. It's not quite as visually interesting, but it has the same themes of a local news station that has had some sort of mixed signal, and the signals are coming from some sort of alien or some sort of government, whatever. Channel 7 is actually a completed series. It's much older than Local 58, whereas Local 58 seems to be ongoing. The creator actually put it in one video, so you can watch the whole thing all the way through without having to skip in between any different areas. Channel 7 also had an ARG associated with it, an augmented reality game. Most of these that I'm about to talk about are ARGs in some form or another, but I'm not gonna get too into the specific game aspect of it because all of these can be enjoyed with or without participating in the games behind them. Overall, Local 58 and Channel 7 are very spooky, but they're not that scary. They're more just creepy. They don't really have a lot of jump scares or anything like that, so I would give it about a 6 out of 10. Next on my list is Daisy Brown. Daisy Brown is one of my favorites. There's just something so charming to it, even though it is easily the cheesiest one on this list. Daisy Brown is a vlog and tutorial channel, except she also has a pet monster that is heavily featured in her videos. So Daisy lives alone with her pet monster, Alan. Her father, she used to live with her father, but her father has mysteriously disappeared, and none of this seems to be unusual to her. If you watch Daisy Brown, I highly recommend turning on the captions for it, whether or not you actually use closed captionings yourself, because much of the background story of Daisy Brown is revealed through the captions. While captions are normally something that would just write down what's being spoken on screen, the captions in Daisy Brown are giving conversations that have happened in the past. And it gives you a more clear sense of what's actually happening, how Daisy Brown has wound up in this situation, and perhaps what Alan is actually supposed to represent. It is through these conversations that we find out that Daisy has been abused in her past and that she's possibly very, very traumatized. It has been heavily suggested that the story is meant to be an allegory for growing up gay in a Christian home, and there are lots of heavy references to this in the series. One of the biggest ones is that in the very end, in the last episode, Daisy is seen wearing a friendship bracelet that was given to her by the only other female character in the series, and it is in the lesbian pride colors. So... and that's not even the most obvious one in the series. Overall, I give Daisy Brown a 3 out of 10. Lots of really heavy symbolism, a very interesting story, but Alan is very clearly a papier-mâché puppet. Also, I don't think that there are any jump scares. Despite the fact that Alan is a puppet and it's obvious, the acting in the series is really, really good, but I just don't consider it that scary. Next on the list is post content. This is another vlog and tutorial channel. The vlogger in this one, though, is haunted by ghosts. Honestly, the ghosts are the least weird and scary thing about his life. In the very first vlog, we see that his entire room is covered in plastic, and there's no explanation given for this. Also, there's like a bucket with what appears to be blood in it in his room, and this like is not something that he even like acknowledges. He also has this strange obsession with this weird brainwashing program that he plays on his computer for himself. Also, he has a dead body that he's constantly trying to hide. My personal interpretation of this story is that this is a young man who has perhaps maybe had a suicide attempt, didn't succeed, and is now undergoing therapy to try to cope with that very heavy fact about his life. But it's presented to us in this very unusual way that makes post content feel very, very disturbing. There are jump scares, there's obviously imagery of gore and suicide and self-harm imagery, so if you're sensitive to that, keep that in mind. I give the series a 7 out of 10 in terms of scariness. It's pretty good, it'll get you a little bit, but there are much scarier ones on this list. Probably one of the most popular channels on this list is Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And if you've seen it, you probably understand why I'm including it, because it is definitely my aesthetic all the way. I love the art style that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is presented in, all of the different art styles that can be seen in it. Just everything about it is just so charming and creepy and wonderful, and I love it with my whole entire heart. The main series of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is only about 6 episodes, but there are a couple other shorts on their channel, and there's also the trailer for a TV series that should be coming out any day now. The story revolves around puppets in a children's show that seems to have gone horribly off the rails. In each short, they sing a song and learn a lesson about life, but there is clearly something sinister going on in the background.
Think you're getting the hang of it now, using your minds to have a good time.
I might paint a picture of a clown.
Whoa there, friend, you might need to slow down. Here's another good tip.
The series creators are very politically active and they are very vocal against advertising in children's media, so it's very easy to draw the conclusion that this series is about advertising in children's media, and it is very, very spooky, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. In terms of the scare factor, it's only a 2 out of 10 because like the puppets are just so cute. In my opinion, I don't know, some other people consider them creepy, but I think that they're adorable, and I'm not scared by this series at all. But it is very creepy, and if you're looking for something a bit campier, a bit more Halloween vibe, then this is definitely the series for you. Also, another very popular series but probably a little bit more underground than Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared, is Marble Hornets. And Marble Hornets is like the Mac Daddy, the grandfather, the king of online horror content. It is the original Slender Man series, and it is also probably one of the scariest ones on this list. So there's the main channel, Marble Hornets, and there's also a side channel called To the Ark. When I first watched the series all the way through, I sort of knew that it was an ARG, but I wasn't really familiar with ARGs yet. This is one of the first big YouTube horror series that I watched. And so I watched it like all the way through just by itself originally, and I feel like it can be enjoyed that way. But the To the Ark videos are just so creepy. I strongly recommend looking up, I feel like there's gotta be a list somewhere on YouTube with all of the episodes in order from all of the different channels. And I strongly recommend watching them in order with the To the Ark videos, because every video from To the Ark kind of reminds me of the cursed video from The Ring. Like, they're just so creepy, and they're just so... They just get under your skin in the best way. The plot of Marble Hornets follows our main character, Jay, who is given some videotapes by his best friend, Alex, after the ending of the filming of a college film called Marble Hornets, where the series gets its name from. Jay starts to go through the tapes thinking that maybe he can salvage something and actually complete the Marble Hornets film, but he finds out very quickly that most of the footage on the tapes has nothing to do with the filming of this project that Alex was working on. Most of it is actually following him around in his house while he's sleeping. It seems like he was constantly filming himself 24/7 around the clock. Eventually, he finds footage of a strange figure called the Operator, who is Slender Man. And very quickly, Jay starts to be visited by strange figures in masks himself. It's definitely very good. It's one of the longer ones. I think there's about 8 or 9 hours of content total. After finishing it, I also recommend watching Nightmind's series on Marble Hornets. He has a 4-part series. Each one is about an hour long, but he digs through it and he tells you what all of the different clues mean, what all of the different backstory means, and really dissects it for you so that if there's anything that you didn't really understand while watching the series in the first part, he can probably clear that up for you. Nightmind's channel just in general is really good, and it's where I discover a lot of creepy content like this. Also, Rainbot and Nexpo are also very good horror channels that I recommend checking out. Marble Hornets is a 10 out of 10, by the way. Next on my list is another very long series called My Dad's Tapes. There's also a side channel of My Dad's Tapes called Do Not Continue, but to be honest, I haven't finished My Dad's Tapes, and I haven't actually watched any of the Do Not Continue videos yet, so just throwing that out there. It is a very long series. There's a lot of content to get through, and this is the only one on the list that I haven't finished 100% of the way through. But from what I did see, I really liked the series. The series is structured very similarly to Marble Hornets in that somebody gets some tapes that were given to them by somebody else. Only this time, a guy has gotten tapes from his father, who has recently passed away. All of the tapes are just standard VHS tapes from regular movies, except when he plays them, he notices that some of them have had parts recorded over with other content. And this other content reveals that the dad might have had a very fun and interesting hobby torturing people and kidnapping and stalking them, but mostly torturing people. My Dad's Tapes is kind of the Saw of YouTube, and a lot of the content actually had to be moved over to Vimeo, so some of the tapes are actually like, this content got flagged, so here's the link in the description to the actual video, just so you know. But I feel like it doesn't really take away from the experience, because it almost like increases that suspense because you have to wait even longer for another video to load. Overall, I give My Dad's Tapes like an 8 out of 10. It's very good, it's very well done, it's very spooky, but personally, I don't find gore scary. If you're somebody who's bothered by gore, it probably might potentially be a 10 out of 10, but I kind of found Saw boring, so. Next on the list is a Polish series, and I don't speak Polish, so I'm going to put the title on the screen and I'm going to refer to the series as its English translation because you pronounce it. If I had to pick a favorite from this list, this would definitely be a contender. I really love the series visually because it has this amazingly well done stop motion animation and just crazy detailed animation that is very hard to pull off, and it looks so good. Huge props to the person that put the series together because they're wonderfully skilled at their craft. So the magic world of Anya, as it is going to be referred to, is a series that revolves around a missing persons case. It is revealed that Anya has gone missing, and prior to her disappearance, she was being stalked and also perhaps was associating with members of a cult, a healing cult. This is definitely a full and ongoing ARG. There isn't really a conclusion to the series yet, but from the little content that is available, like, it is so good. The ARG is a little bit more difficult to participate in because obviously all of the clues are Polish, but there are a lot of friendly English speakers who have put in the comments of the videos what things like the Morse code in different passages translates to and what the different messages and clues for the associated Tumblr pages are, so definitely check out the comments if you want to participate in the ARG. The series is incredibly unsettling. There's a lot of gore imagery and a lot of decay imagery, but it's not particularly scary. I give it like a 5 out of 10. My next series you've already heard me talk about, but I feel like I would be doing a terrible disservice if I did not include this series again, and that is Hi, I'm Mary Mary. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what the series means because I already did a full analysis of it, but essentially a young woman has woken up in a house that appears to be a copy, not an exact copy, but a copy of her parents' house. She is completely alone and isolated during the day, and she has no way of escaping the house whatsoever. The windows don't break, the doors don't open, she has no way out. She is trapped in the house, and at night she is visited by some rather aggressive demons. This series is incredibly terrifying. There were parts of it that when I was making my video about it, I had to like slow down and turn the audio completely off because it was that creepy. Like, I watched it 10 times over the course of 2 days to get all of my notes written down, and all of the jump scares still got me every time. Before I get to the last video on my list, I have some honorable mentions that I'll just go through very rapid fire. I didn't have time to talk about every series that I've seen in full detail because if I did, I'd be talking for days. Because there's so much good horror content on YouTube. There's a lot of bad stuff too, but there is a lot of amazing gems that just need more recognition. One of those is Dad. This is a series that actually recently got a lot of plot progression, so I'm not gonna go too deep into what it is, but basically Dad is a YouTube persona, and Dad is the best YouTuber, clearly, and things go off the rails very fast. The next on the list is Poppy. Poppy isn't an indie series, actually. She is produced by a record company, but she also has like non-music content on her YouTube channel. She has hundreds of non-music content videos, and they range from being a few seconds long to like 20 minutes long, and they are very creepy. It is suggested that perhaps Poppy is some sort of Illuminati industry plant, and it's very easy to see how that might be the case. Next on my list is Ash Vlogs. Ash Vlogs ended, I think, last year. I think that was when it like had its natural like story ending. Ash Vlogs appears to be a normal vlog channel on the surface, but in the description of each video, there is a corresponding video that's unlisted. And these ones are much creepier and show that there is something sinister going on in the background of Ash's life. And my last honorable mention is not a YouTube channel, but it is well worth your time to check out, and that is The Sun Vanished on Twitter. This Twitter account follows the aftermath of the sun vanishing from the sky, and it also perhaps has aliens and perhaps has some government cover-ups. The series is not over, there is still progression happening, so I definitely recommend checking that out yourself. And finally, the last series I want to talk about is Petscop, and Petscop is one that I loved and enjoy and rewatch and hope that there will eventually be more of. Petscop starts out as playthroughs of a video game that the main character Paul is trying to show to a friend of his. He claims that he found it in his parents' attic and that it is an unfinished PlayStation 1 game. The game also had a note attached to it, instructions on how to become a scary shadow man, that basically unlocks a secret game mode that appears to be much more finished than the surface game. The game reveals itself to be connected to several real-life disappearances, and it has themes of adoption and childhood abuse, and just lots of things surrounding that. It also references some real-life cases. One of the rooms is based off of a child who tragically lost her life undergoing a type of experimental therapy called rebirthing. There's a whole Wikipedia article dedicated to that, so I won't get too deep into it. But there is a lot of themes of medical malpractice and adoption and child adoption. It's a pet-themed game where you go around and collect pets, but it's revealed very quickly that the pets might actually correspond to real-life children who have been adopted. There are no jump scares in the series, but trust me, it doesn't need them. It still manages to be pretty terrifying. It is a 6 out of 10 in my book. So that is a long list of YouTube channels that you should definitely check out this Halloween if you're looking for something spooky. I think independent channels definitely need all the love that they can get because they obviously don't have big funding behind them. The people that made these channels aren't really profiting off of them, so at the very least we can give them our admiration. That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope somebody checks out some of these channels, and I will see you all next time. Bye!